Good afternoon.
Now, you wrote a book called Wishful Drinking. I wrote a book called I Beat the Booze and You Can Too, so this should be fun.
Oh, did you really?
Yes, but I must say, I went to your show last night and really enjoyed it. Your comic timing and, apart from the content, which is pretty raw and pretty honest.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the thing that Woody Allen says, that tragedy plus comedy is time. But the Melbourne audiences have been fantastic here, and they're much more, I mean, when I ask for someone to volunteer in certain places, they're much more active in the show here.
Yeah, I'm like one of those people who keeps your head down. When anybody puts the house lights up and looks for volunteers, I always hide.
Well, they were hiding last night, and then I said, come on, and then there was two people on that.
You got them. You got them. Now, look, your whole life, I mean, and you run through the roller coaster ride of it all, and you talk about drugs and anorexia and booze and all those things. You call it wishful drinking. You mentioned Elton John. You could have called it I'm Still Standing.
Well, yeah, that's right. The spoiler alert is that I live. But, a lot of this happened a while ago, and I've just, it actually does, the show is really fun to do, and I know it's fun for the audiences, and it just, it's sort of, I guess, the messages you can get through anything, and none of us are really any different emotionally. So I just had been I've been tested a lot more than other people.
From a very early age.
Yeah, I guess so. I had that was unusual, that lifestyle, but it's probably emotionally not different than anybody else's. Everybody's parents are their parents, and it's all a secret language.
Yeah, but the difference is with you is that your parents, Eddie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds, that's like you lived it out in public. You lived it out in the National Enquirer and Confidential and Hedda Hopper's columns in Luella Parsons.
Yeah, but that's like if you said, what was that like? It would be like saying, well, what's it like to be, a Libra? It's kind of an abstract, really, because like once you get on the inside of those things, the way that they're different is, I had a lot more comforts available to me for a long time because my parents made a good living.
Yeah. How did it feel? I know it's tough because your dad only died last month, but how's it tough over the years when your dad, put it bluntly, was sort of, in the end, was cast as one of the world's great losers? Because I remember I was living in the States when Jackie Kennedy was being wooed by Aristotle Onassis, and Bobby Kennedy warned her about the sleazy Greek, and she said, look, the American people will forgive me anything as long as I don't run off with Eddie Fisher.
Did she say that?
True.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, he was a symbol of like the man that leaves his wife with two little babies,
Yeah.
And I think he did something very human that I don't think a lot of men probably would do, But yeah, it wrecked but that's not the only thing that wrecked his career. I mean, my father was a very bad drug addict. He went bankrupt 4 times. I mean, he took what gifts that he'd been given in terms of, having this beautiful voice, and he squandered it.
Yeah.
He was not really a hard worker, which is different than what, Jackie Kennedy was talking about.
Because back then he had incredible, he was incredibly famous. He had a beautiful voice. For his time, he was one of the greatest, one of the great Hollywood stars and one of the great singers around the world. I was born and brought up in a little country called New Zealand, and we all knew of Eddie Fisher.
Yeah, but he didn't work. What's the difference ultimately then between him maybe and, I don't know, there is a big difference with Frank Sinatra because he didn't go into the movies, but he did do 2 movies. There was something not crafty about my dad.
Yeah.
He didn't know how to make it all click. He was a prisoner of his impulses, which were drugs and women and all that stuff.
Yeah, that is true. Now, in your own case, over the years, now they call it bipolar, which almost makes it sound different to when it was called being a manic depressive.
Actually, manic depressive is more accurate.
Yeah, but bipolar now, people say, I'm just bipolar. I mean, manic depressive back when you were diagnosed and you did you did time in institutions. How did you come through all that?
Well, I mean, what were the choices? I came through it because I'm sort of a determined, and I could make it funny. I could make it an abstraction. So it was like I have problems. Problems don't have me.
Yeah.
And it's like I can work through it. I mean, when I do these shows, it's sort of like I'm presenting the best version of me. I'm acting better than I feel, and by the end of the show, I am that person that I have been presenting.
Yeah. If we just take a break, we'll come back in 1 minute with Carrie Fisher.